Confused about how to plan for your retirement? Shawn Maloney is here to help. Shawn has created the Retire Happy framework that considers more than just how much you should save. Getting information and tools to preserve your financial future is minutes away. Welcome to the Priority of Retirement with your host, Shawn Maloney.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Priority of Retirement, where we dive into all aspects of retirement planning for a happy retirement. I'm your host, Shawn Maloney, and today we're honored to have George Kinder with us, author, international thought leader, and pioneer in the financial life planning space. For over 35 years, George has been at the forefront of transforming the financial services industry by centering clients' desired lives with their financial plans. He founded the Kinder Institute of Life Planning, and he's authored 3 foundational books of money management. Join us as we explore his groundbreaking philosophies, dynamic presentation skills, and the impact that he's had on both people's professional and consumers worldwide. So, George, man, I appreciate you coming on today.
Great to be here, Shawn.
You guys, you have quite a background. I can't wait to dive in and have our listeners hear a little bit more about you, what you're all about.
Great.
So let's just kick it off. So what inspired you to transition from that practicing financial planning and tax advisor to finding the Institute and life planning and what you're doing today? How did that look?
Well, I mean, that was a pretty simple transition for me. I was always, the thing I've been passionate about all my life and certainly all my career was in helping people live lives of freedom. And what I realized at some point, and I think it was because I'd given a national talk and there was a think tank that formed around some of the ideas I had, I realized that I could contribute to a lot more people if I were training advisors rather than working with individual clients. So it's just a very simple slam dunk, not a question in my mind. Yep.
Oh, that's fantastic. It makes a lot of sense. And with our clients, and I love your background and your process here, especially when it comes to life planning and how that plays into people's retirement, right? I mean, we talk a lot about with our clients when we're sitting there doing planning, is before we ever get to the planning part, right? We talk about, well, what's your retirement why? What do you want to do in retirement? Let's talk about the non-financial stuff first, right? Let's talk about those kind of things. So it's just very fitting. So I love that. I love that a lot. So tell me a little bit about the core mission of the Kinder Institute and how it differs from really the traditional planning philosophies and approaches.
Well, it's similar to what you were just saying, Shawn. We really pioneered and started in a way the whole notion that not that the best advisors weren't doing this already anyway, but
Sure.
that the client's life comes first.
Yeah.
And we weren't advising around, which insurance product you should choose or how you should invest your savings or spreadsheets. That was not the primary thing. The primary thing was finding out where the client wanted to go with their life and making sure they got there. And in fact, giving them the space for them so that they felt they could trust you. So they'd really share with you, because otherwise you just get superficial stuff. They think you're a broker. They think you're selling product.
Right.
They're going to give you superficial stuff. Right?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's it's a lot of choices, big choices. It's emotional, in your planning out your life. So it's a very relational component, right? And not only is the planning itself very relational and emotional, but that connection has to be there between an advisor and the people that they're working with. They got to feel comfortable. Love that. So you have your different books, and particularly the 7 stages of money maturity. How'd that influence the field of financial planning?
Well, first of all, it's ancient history. I mean, this is 25 years ago that I released the 7 stages of money maturity. I'd actually given a workshop on it a year before. And that work came out of working with this think tank that formed around what I was doing and in the financial planning industry. What was I mean, it was a phenomenal event because it started in a way the whole human side of money
Right.
being a field really. And we called it the stuff we were doing, we called it life planning. Um, and in that, so in that early days, it was kind of the first definition of what is the human side of money? I mean,
Right.
is this really about money? Is it really about a human being? How do the two relate?
Yep.
Um, and I was identified for many people for the first time, really stages of growth. That's why it's called the 7 stages of money maturity.
Gotcha.
Stages of growth that people go through just naturally. And Shawn, it's not really about money. I mean, it has money all the way through it, but it's life, right?
Yeah.
And so it's stages of growth with life. And what so what it initiated in a lot of ways was people realizing that our psychology, I mean, now they have neuroscience and all that kind of stuff working on it, but that our psychology had a lot to do with how we related to money and a lot to do with whether we were successful at it or not.
Yep.
So it introduced all of that. It, it, the people who followed it I felt they went at some point, the first 5, 6, 7, 8 years, I felt they went too far towards
Sure.
psychology when they weren't trained.
I
And
gotcha.
I felt that the key thing was really delivering people into freedom. So I simplified it. And that's how the Kinder Institute came about.
Oh, that's interesting. I love that. And and it's money is just a tool, right? And when it comes down to it, I think too many, not necessarily consumers and the clients, but too many advisors or people in our field, get tied to or too focused in on just the pure money aspect of it and not, all right, what are we here? Why are we talking about this to begin with? It's not about the money. It's about the person, right? And the effects it has on their life, and whether it's good or stressful or whatever it may be, and really get to the root of, like you say, the life aspects of it. I love that. I love that. So, what are some of the key principles behind that client centered, values driven approach of money management?
Well, the I think probably the easiest way to describe it and talk about it is to talk about and we do a series of different trainings that lead to a designation called the Registered Life Planner designation.
Okay.
And central training for that, it's typically a 5 day, if you do it over Zoom, it's a 4 day training. And it um, it really illustrates the principles. The first principle is that in order to be able to do it well with your client, to do life planning really well, I mean, there's a saying we have, you can't do life planning unless you've been life planned, right?
Right. Sure.
So,
Right. Yep.
if you're not living the life that you're meant to live, your
Right.
client's going to see right through you. You can be trying to coach them this way and that way, and you won't really have a clue, and they'll know it because we're relational beings. So
Yeah.
there'll be a of them that just go, this doesn't smell quite right, and so the first thing we do in a training, there's only 10, 12, 14 people that come together, and we pair them up. And so Shawn, if you were coming, you'd be
Yeah.
paired up with another advisor, and you choose each other, and but then for 5 days, there you are.
Right.
He or she is life planning you, and you're life planning them.
Love it.
And so at the end of that 5 days, you are living your life plan, and virtually everybody there. I mean, it's astonishing to see everybody's life gets transformed.
Sure.
Um, at the same time, they're learning all the skills, so they're learning it from the inside out, not from textbooks,
Right.
uh, which is pretty cool. And if I could just go a couple more principles, because you
Yeah.
asked
Most
those
definitely.
I think the main principle, and you're exercising it right now, you're doing a good job here, and that is listening. The most important thing in uh, financial services is not a well-trusted field.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's not a well-trusted industry, and unfortunately, the whole rest of the world is following that lack of trust in other ways,
Yeah, it's
right?
going down the wrong path.
Yeah. So the first thing we train the advisors to do is to listen,
Wow.
and to listen graciously, thoughtfully, kindly, compassionately, and pretty much without interruption. So it's not unusual for the bulk of that first meeting to be the client talking. And the only question the advisor might ask is, why are you here? You know,
Right.
and so you're really giving the client that opportunity to reflect. And and so the listening is listening for where they feel concerns. You know, gosh, it's hard to deal with all this inflation. It's hard to save for my kids' education the way I really want to. So listening to those concerns and empathizing when you hear them, not asking further questions. We're not doing psychology. We're just
Right.
staying connected. And then the other principle is when you hear something that they just love to do, you go,
Yeah.
you know, you connect like,
Right.
wow, it doesn't matter if you don't play golf, if they do, that's it.
Right.
And if you don't garden, but they do, you know, you just love that you just get inspired by it. You show
Yeah.
that.
Love that.
So, and then what happens is that we then have a series of questions and a series of exercises that leads the person into a really an incredible dream of who they really want to be.
Yeah.
And that's called lighting the torch. And so there's this torch that's lit and we paint the picture. And when you do it well, the client is so excited.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you ask them then, so what could get in the way? And they go, nothing, nothing but me, maybe. And then, you know, yeah, and then you do it. And so it really, rather than just focusing on the money and putting all the money together, the client gets lit up by realizing I can live the way I want to live. And this person
Yeah.
gets it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. I love doing that. I love sitting across from somebody and having them think about their dream. Because, like, I think, and maybe, tell me if you feel differently, but oftentimes, when we sit down, we start thinking about our money, we start thinking about our plans. A lot of people tend to hold back and they don't think different things are possible, and when you get them to step out and dream a little bit, okay, yeah, we're going to make sure that, like from a retirement perspective, we're going to make sure your needs are met. That's going to be the first thing we do. Let's go beyond that. Let's talk about what do you want to do? What's your dreams? Don't think about what it's going to take to get there. Just dream a little bit, and just see their uh persona change, and it just kind of lighten them a little bit, and just get them here and see them talk about that. I just absolutely love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Motivating.
It is absolutely. It's inspiring. And you realize, as an advisor, you realize, I mean, most of the advisors that come through our programs at first, I mean, they were thinking what they were trying to do was make a living and make a good living.
Yeah,
So their eyes for themselves were on the dollars.
sure.
And when they do this and you start working with clients like this, all of that shifts. It goes out the window. It's not that you forget about that, but your passion is for
Right.
your clients to live a life of freedom. It's pretty
Right.
incredible.
That's right. And that, and that's why we shifted our focus to retirement plans. Why I shifted my focus to retirement planning, and concentrating on people getting a right plan in place for the drawdown. People everyone's just concentrating on accumulation, but a lot of people don't have that drawdown, phase really laid out. And part of it, obviously, the first step, like we talked about, is figuring out what you want to do. But and the listeners here have heard us talk about it. But there, we have it's how are you going to retire happy? We have this retire happy framework, right? And it all starts with that dreaming part up front and figuring out what you want to do. And it's exciting, and it's why we have a passion to do what we do. Is because, look, we all work hard a whole life, so we all deserve to enjoy our later years. So I love this approach. I absolutely love that. So can you share a couple examples of how your philosophies kind of challenge that traditional economic assumptions?
Yeah, I minored in economics at Harvard,
Wow.
and so I studied it and I thought about it, and I didn't always agree with all the things they were saying. But when I left college, I challenged myself. Whenever someone won a Nobel Prize, I would go, I would read every article I could about them. I'd take a day out of my life, right
Yeah.
around the time they won the prize. And I just really study what it was that they had to say. So I've been really interested in it. And you get, and so I like to think that I'm challenging in some ways a lot of the themes that we hear all the time. So for instance, you hear that we are a kind of the best of us is a free market kind of
Mhm.
approach. And I
Sure.
wish that were true. I mean, that would be really wonderful.
Right.
That was what Adam Smith talked about 250 years ago. But the truth is that we don't have a free market. We have big insurance companies, we have big mutual fund companies, we have big brokerage firms, we have huge banks.
Yeah.
They dominate the market. There's no free
Right.
market.
Right.
They promote the free market because if we get thinking, oh, well, we want a free market, and they say why, they can have more power
Sure.
because there's nobody regulating them or anything. So we don't have a free market. We've got this oligopoly, but even more than that, it's really interesting, Shawn. Um, you go back to the bare beginnings where
Mhm.
when early on when we were influenced by Adam Smith's thinking originally, and you think about the setup of all the corporations that occurred, and at that time you might think, well, then George, I got you. That was a free market, wasn't it? And it just exploded and all that.
Right.
No, that was one of the largest examples of government regulation that we've ever seen.
In
Because
disguise.
what the government said was, if you incorporate, we'll give you a limited liability. And they sat back with their arms crossed, and there we all took off. So from the beginning, we didn't have a free market. We had a limited liability market.
Right.
And what that meant was that the ordinary consumer couldn't sue for various things. The owners were protected. And so a lot of the things that now we're facing that we're troubled by in civilization, whether it's the climate or democracy or almost anything that could be
Yeah.
the border, whatever we're troubled by, often they were promoted by lending money from the banks to various corporations or and so that's the civilization we've been. So I'm actually promoting something quite different, which I call a fiduciary
Love it.
rather than a limited liability approach, a fiduciary approach. And
Yep.
I know you're on your website anyway, you talk about being a fiduciary. And
Yeah.
what a fiduciary means is you put your client first.
1000%.
And so I'm actually looking back at those original rules for corporations where we got the limited liability and say, great, we give everybody a limited liability, but let's ask something from them in return.
Sure.
And one of the things that's interesting is I think the main thing that we're kind of freaked out about in our time is the polarization.
Yeah.
You could be watching one set of news and I could be watching another, and you say one thing's true, and I go, no, this is true. And we're in totally opposite camps. And I know you've been around a while. I've been around a long while. You can tell by the gray hair, but it never
Hey,
used
at
to be
least you
that.
have hair, right?
Yeah, well, me too. I'm getting that way. But it never used to be that way. I mean, there was a fairness doctrine about news, and there was a bell curve. And yeah, we had ABC that was conservative, kind of on the right, and you had PBS way over on the left, and then the others, but they were all reporting the same news with just
Yeah.
slight variations. And so we could sit together in the living room or over a dining room table and talk about it and
Right.
disagree and have a conversation. Can't do that now.
Yeah.
So in the fiduciary world that I'm proposing that we have, in addition to limited liability, we ask the corporation, why would we not do this? To always place the truth ahead of their own self-interest.
Right.
Why would you ever give power to a huge hierarchy where they didn't place the truth or democracy or the planet or humanity ahead of their own self-interest? So it's just a slight shift. So again, economic.
It's like
I love your.
just a little bit.
It's a tweak. It would take a generation to kind of work it out. There'd be a lot of trying to figure out what on earth's going on here, but it
Right.
would solve a lot of the problems that we've got.
I love it. No, I absolutely love that. 100% agree. I mean, the more we act in the best interest of, one, our our consumers or clients and individuals as people, and start thinking about it from that perspective versus the other way around, as far as putting money in the companies and all those kind of things first. It's amazing the downstream impacts that would have, you know?
Huge, huge.
Yeah. Well,
And we're in such a crazy place, I mentioned some of the problems we have, but we're such a creative, inventive, innovative
yeah,
people. I mean, a species, and civilization is who
yeah,
we actually are.
yeah,
And and if civilization is who we are, why are we fighting? Why are we um, so uncivil with each other?
yeah,
And then a new thing comes along like AI, artificial intelligence.
right,
There are going to be a lot more new things. There's going to be new things in biology and all these other things. And and we don't have an institution, not a single institution that we feel we can really trust
right.
to weigh how that would best be for humanity. And we don't have a way for us as a democracy to come in and say, let's think about it and let's make it
Yeah,
happen. So that's
yeah.
what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to do.
No, I love it. I love it. So so that obviously has a big impact, and I agree. We're as a society and as humanity, we are intelligent people. We're creative people. I just wish we could harness that and all focus it in the right direction, and be more. I mean, I say this all the time, and I say it in a chapter of my book and stuff as well. Is we need to be more focused on people, but more generous mindset, right? And generosity meaning not just money, but your time and focus and humanity in general. That word generosity can encompass so many different things. But your thoughts and your concepts, your principles and stuff are very impactful. So how would you summarize that as far as what your impact has been on your in the training programs and your workshops, to financial professionals, and really on to consumers after that? How would you categorize or summarize that impact?
Well, I think that the clear impact is that, and this is all over the world. The clear impact is that much more than when I started in the profession 40 years ago, really,
Yeah,
um, the profession is quite concerned about um, being humane in relation to their clients. They're quite concerned about uh, that their clients do live lives of freedom, and that they're not. And so the profession is not as much focused on sales of products. It's still there,
sure.
but it's not nearly as focused on that. And that's true um, really in many parts of the world as a consequence of the work that I've done.
Yeah, love it. Well, I understand you have a newest book out. Three domains of freedom. Each moment is yours. Your life is yours. Civilization is yours. Tell us a little bit about that new book. What can we expect when we dive into that thing?
Well, I've written a lot of books, and I probably close to a dozen books now, and three of them are explicitly on money, a couple of them on civilization, and then there are a few others that
Sure.
go around to other topics. This book, you can see, it's really relatively thin,
Right.
and it's got the title is all in the meaning is all in the subtitle. So what I decided to do, in a way, it summarizes a lot of the work I've done in my life, and by these three domains. So each moment is yours, your life is yours, and civilization is yours. And the notion is that um, here we are, we're talking about freedom. We're in a political time, right? And both parties, they both are talking about freedom, and they have their
Right.
definitions of freedom and all this.
Yeah.
And I thought, freedom is what life planning is about. So that's that middle freedom. Your life is yours. It's really important that our clients claim not just our clients, everybody
Right.
claims it. And there are ways you can now find a lot of. We've got free websites where you can go and kind of plot out your own life in a way.
Right.
It's important everybody claim their life, but each moment is ours too, and we don't always I mean, we kind of know that, yeah, any one of these moments I could choose to do something else or choose to do what I want. And many of us have a spiritual side to ourselves or something.
Yeah.
And so we know that that's an aspect of that.
For sure.
And what I wanted to do was I wanted to say, okay, your life is yours, but still there are all these moments. There's, doing the laundry, there's cleaning up the puke of the kids or the dog or whatever. And, there's a lot of stuff. And I thought, yeah, but each of those moments, if we really wanted, I don't mean necessarily all of those, but
Right.
there's so many moments we could claim as ours, and we don't. And so I
Right.
taught mindfulness practice for many years. So I bring that in and I say, look, all it is a mastery of the present moment, and you can do that. And then civilization is yours is the one where we're troubled. That's the one you and I've been
Yeah.
talking. How do we make it so that it is ours as a species, and each of us be part of that, contributing to make that world a different place. And that's
the bigger challenge.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that sounds
So,
very interesting. Sounds like a great read. I'm gonna check that out.
yeah, thank you, Shawn. Thank you.
Well, man, George, it's been a pleasure, guys. You can find a little more out about George at the kinderinstitute.com and georgekinder.com. All those links and all that kind of stuff will be in the show notes. George, it's been a pleasure having you on today. In fact, I'd definitely be reaching out and enjoyed talking a little bit more. I think we have some great conversations. But guys, this has been another episode of the Priority of Retirement. Here's to aligning your future, and we'll check you on the next episode. Y'all have a great day.
Thanks for listening to The Priority of Retirement with Shawn Maloney. If you enjoyed the show, check out our reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. For more free resources to help with your retirement journey, go to retirewisepro.com or check the link in the show notes. You can also download a free copy of Shawn's book, The Priority of Retirement, or reach out to discuss working with him directly at retirewisepro.com. Thanks for listening.
Insurance products offered through the insurance business RetireWise LLC. RetireWise LLC is also an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through AE Wealth Management LLC, AEWM, a registered investment advisor. AEWM does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by RetireWise LLC are not subject to investment advisor requirements. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the insuring carrier. This podcast intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. RetireWise LLC is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by RetireWise LLC. Guests of the Priority of Retirement are not affiliated with, nor do they endorse Shawn Maloney or RetireWise LLC.